in controversial speaker Kanye West making a op-ed in the Wall Street Journal to issue a public apology. Is it true or is it sincere? Are people buying it? Kanye wants you to buy into it because Kanye is trying to do a new album, and many people think it's a PR stunt. Well, Kanye West trying to issue a public apology on the Wall Street Journal to get sympathy for his bipolarness and everything that went down. We'll get to the latest on the next edition of Viral. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Viral. I'm your host, as always, Kendrick Dix here. Glad you join us here on Viral. We talk about Kanye West apologizes to everyone he had hurt by saying anti-Semitic remarks. Anything that really hurt any community, he said he is sorry. But we'll get to it in a minute. But first thing first, join in the conversation using the hashtag Viral here on Connect. And don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe is caring. Tell a friend. Call a friend. Hit that subscribe button so you won't miss a thing. As we talk about here on Viral, rapper, activist, entrepreneur Kanye West did a op-ed in the Wall Street Journal and issued an apology to all races, creeds, ethnicities, you name it, anybody that was affected, even anti-Semitic remarks to the Jewish community. Well, Kanye West did that remark. Let's get our very own Bob Evans to break it down on why Kanye's making this apology.
Yo, what's up? This is Viral. I'm Bob Evans, and Kanye West is trending once again. This time for a full-page op-ed in the Wall Street Journal where he's apologizing for his past comments and controversies. Let's break it down. Kanye says he's not anti-Semitic, he's not a Nazi, and that a brain injury from a car crash and bipolar disorder led to years of reckless behavior. He claims a manic episode destroyed his life and says he's now in treatment. Some fans say this is growth, others call it damage control before new music drops. Either way, the internet is on fire. And even Bob Evans weighed in on celebrity redemption culture, saying people deserve accountability, but also space to grow, especially when mental health is involved. That's a real conversation we don't have enough in pop culture. What do you think? Real apology or PR move? Comment below, like, subscribe, and stay locked in with Viral.
Thank you, Bob, for that insightful information. Bob Evans, one of the best in the business. Bob Evans digging down deep, doing the investigating journalism that he is to see what's going on with Kanye West, and he brought it to you here on Viral. So, Bob Evans, salutes to you on the insightful information. Well, let's hear what you people had to say. You people had a lot to say about Kanye West issuing a public apology to all communities on his behavior and his bipolarness and stuff, and why it was a reason. Let's see what you people had to say on what the people say.
Kanye West has issued an apology for his anti-Semitic comments. Hey guys, it's your girl Jen Trey Hay, and Kanye West has came out with a statement about how he apologized for the comments he's made in the past and how he doesn't hate a certain group of people and is not involved in a certain group of people. Let me show you what he said. You guys can go ahead and pause and read, but basically he talks about when he got into a car accident and he injured his jaw, but it also messed up his right frontal lobe of his brain, and that it kind of went unnoticed, and basically he has issues from that, which causes him to have outbursts and be a little bit bipolar and, you know, become like a destructive symbol to the world. So he goes on and just kind of lists the things that's causing the actions, and he also had this to say. He goes on to talk about his bipolar issues and how he has, you know, mental illness. And, you know, Kim Kardashian said this. People, you know, kind of jumped on her head initially because they were such Kanye fans, but she did talk about him having mental illness and how he would have episodes and things like that. But we just hope he gets better, stays better, and, you know, we're sending our prayers. It's glad that he apologized to that group of people that he offended, and all the people that he offended, I should say, and we hope that he just, you know, does better going forward.
Kanye West has formally apologized to the J community for his anti-Semitic remarks that he made over the last 5, maybe 6 years. Do you accept his apology? It's one of those confusing ones where like he's done so many things wrong. I've actually forgotten some of the harmful things that he says. I know anti-Semitism was one of them. There was some misogynoir in there. There was some anti-blackness in there. There was some pro-Trumpism. There was loads of stuff, man. There was pro-Diddyisms. Loads was going on. I can't remember which of the crimes I've counseled him for. I just know he's not the kind of person I ever want to associate myself with. But unfortunately, his first 6 albums were so amazing that they were a soundtrack to my 20s. I feel like a 1% connection to the creative part of his brain. And, you know, Yeezys were cool. I never really bought any of that stuff, but, you know, cool to see. Do you want to see what he said? Look, this is very, very long. There's 2 pages of this, but basically he put an op-ed in the New York Times where he basically says that when he was doing his first album, by the way, it's clearly done by ChatGPT, but, you know, no one really cares about that anymore as long as we understand what he's trying to say. But he says that in 2020, whenever he done his first album, College Dropout, he had a car crash which had a massive trauma to his frontal lobe. And that resulted in mental health challenges, which then turned into type 1 bipolar. And this wasn't really caught and diagnosed until 2023. He says that changed the way that he would show up and created a form of mania. And look, it's a very, very long. I'm going to pause it and read all of it yourself because I'm not going to try and read every single word. But he has formally apologized to the J community. I assume he hasn't apologized to anybody else, really. And there will be no other follow-up. I'm sure this is a part of a longer comeback from what I understand. He has been seeing his children recently. He has been spending time co-parenting with Kim Kardashian. So who knows, man? Where are you with this? Like, is there anything you can do to bring him back in the graces of you? Or is it just done no matter what? Like, what do you do with someone like this at this particular time after so much time has gone on? Do you miss his art? I'd love to know. Also, here's page 2 that you can pause and read the rest of.
If someone told me this was the year that Kanye West would apologize for all of the things he has said against the Jewish community, I would have said, I knew that was coming. Eventually, it always comes. Well, Kanye West took out a full page in the Wall Street Journal, and this is today, January 26, 2026, saying that he has wronged that community and he loves the Jewish people. I'll do a full video on my YouTube channel. Wrote out an entire thing stating how he feels, how he was diagnosed with, first it was autism, then it became bipolar, then he left it unchecked because, people bipolar, they really like to deny. That's the name of the game for them. They're in denial. It's really hard. It's one of those mental illnesses that just makes them very adverse to any kind of change and adverse to you labeling them. And he talks about that. He talks about the actual feelings that you get when you've been labeled with something like bipolar and how being labeled as crazy really made it hard for him to accept. He was right when he said there's a certain group that runs the industry. And you can't bite the hand. I keep saying that to people. They don't get it. Like going to work every day, yelling at your boss and putting him down constantly and thinking that man's still going to give you a paycheck and you're not going to get fired. So Kanye West is backtracking, and this is all due to his relationship, in my opinion, with the Kardashians. I believe he was talked into this by Kim and her family, and they told him, you better get your act together because you will affect the future of your children, Kanye, if you don't get your act together. But you guys drop your thoughts and comments. I'll do a full video on this later. Have a great day.
Kanye West has apologized for everything. For my apologies, yay. He apologizes to the Jewish community for his anti-Semitism, and he apologizes to the Black community for everything. He paid the Wall Street Journal for a full-page article, and keep in mind, that shit is not cheap. It's not $100, it's not $1,000, it's not $10,000, it's not $100,000, okay? Let's just read a bit of this before we start going up in arms. 25 years ago, I was in a car accident that broke my jaw and caused injury to the right frontal lobe of my brain. At the time, the focus was on visible damage, the fracture, the swelling, and the immediate physical trauma. The deeper injury, the one inside my skull, went unnoticed. Comprehensive scans were not done. Neurological exams were limited, and the possibilities of frontal lobe injury was never raised. It wasn't properly diagnosed until 2023. That medical oversight caused serious damage to my mental health and led to my bipolar type 1 diagnosis. Bipolar diagnosis comes with its own defense system, denial. When you're manic, you don't think you're sick. You think everyone else is overreacting. You feel like you're seeing the world more clearly than ever, when in reality, you're losing your grip entirely. Once people label you as crazy, you feel as if you cannot contribute anything meaningful to the world. It's easy for people to joke and laugh it off, when in fact, it is a very serious, debilitating disease you can die from. According to the World Health Organization and Cambridge University, people with bipolar disorder have a life expectancy that is shortened 10 to 5 years on average, and 2 to 3 times higher all-cause mortality rate than the general population. This is on par with severe heart disease, type 1 diabetes, HIV, cancer, and all lethal, fatal if left untreated. The scariest thing about this disorder is how persuasive it is when it tells you you don't need help. It makes you blind but convinces you have sight. You feel powerful, certain, and unstoppable. I lost touch with reality. Things got worse the longer I ignored the problem. I said and did things I deeply regret. Some of the people I love the most, I treated the worst. You endure fear, confusion, humiliation, and the exhaustion of trying to love someone who was, at the times, unrecognizable. Looking back, I became detached from my true self. Sorry, I'm comprehending as I'm reading, so I'm suggesting he's speaking in the facts of the people that he hurt. In that most fractured state, I gravitated towards the most destructive symbol I could find, the swastika, and even sold t-shirts bearing it. One of the difficult aspects of having bipolar type 1 are the disconnected moments, many of which I still cannot recall, that led to poor judgments and reckless behaviors that oftentimes feels like an out-of-body experience. I regret and am deeply mortified by my actions in that state, and am committed to accountability, treatment, and meaningful change. It does not excuse what I did, though. I am not a Nazi or an anti-Semitist. I love Jewish people. Sorry, just to clarify, I might sound like I chuckle. I don't find any of this funny, but we'll get into the conversation after. To the Black community, which held me down through all the highs and lows, in the darkest of times, the Black community is unquestionably the foundation of who I am. I am so sorry to have let you down. I love us. Having bipolar disorder is not a state of constant mental illness. When you go into manic episodes, you are ill at that point. When you are not in the episodes, you are completely normal. And that's when the wreckage from the illness hits the hardest. Hitting rock bottom a few months ago, my wife encouraged me to finally get help. I have found comfort in Reddit forums of all places. Different people speak of being manic or depressive episodes of similar nature. I read their stories and realize that I was not alone. It's not just me who ruins their entire life once a year despite taking meds every day and being told by the so-called best doctors in the world that I am not bipolar, but merely experiencing symptoms of autism. My words as a leader in my community have real global... Sorry, I'm reading on the screen, so that's where the timer is. But it's global impact and influence. In my mania, I lost complete sight of that. As if my new baseline and new center through an effective regime of medication, therapy, exercise, and clean living, I have newfound much needed clarity. I am pouring my energy into positive, meaningful art, music, clothing designs, and other new ideas to help the world. I'm not asking for sympathy or a free pass, though I aspire for forgiveness. I write today simply to ask for your patience and understand as I find my new way home. Sorry, I'm a sucker for the mentally ill. That's really sad. Speaking as just an individual, I truly believe that, obviously, as he says in the article, you can't really just apologize for the crazy shit that you did, like, throughout the year. It makes it even more dangerous once it's recognized as a manic sense. I think a lot of people within the public, within like the fandom spaces, when always talking about Kanye West, we were kind of like aware that he was going through bipolar episodes. And as a person who has seen their fair shares of bipolar episodes, especially in the family route, it's painful, because I think the one thing, especially in this Ye route, that a lot of people said they wished he would do is get help. And the fact that him apologizing isn't really anything new, it's hard to just accept words at face value. But as he said, him choosing to want to be better, I think every person, no matter who you are, deserves to have that choice. I know some of the shit Kanye West has done. I don't know half the skeletons that are in his closet. So, of course, it's very reasonable if, like, the public sees this and they're like, fuck this nigga. I don't think that should devalue anybody's personal growth when it comes down to doing better for themselves, and especially as a public influencer. Because honestly, we are now living in a time where people need to be able to do that, especially in the public eye. Proof that can be done. And if Kanye, he wants to be the first participant of that, because I bet you this is going to inspire a couple of people to be like, fuck, am I also going through a fucking manic episode? Do I have bipolar disorder? And get themselves the help that they need. If we want this world to change, where we're currently living in a regime where people are getting fucking snatched up off the streets, then we need to allow the people to come to this accepting of accountability that, yeah, you should not be supporting the ideals, regardless of what the fuck is going on in your head. That allows people to do better so that the world can start to be better. We need more kindness. I'm not personally close to Kanye West. I don't know that man at all. He's never actually offended me. I am a member of the black community and I'm a woman. I've seen him do crazy by both, but he has still never personally wronged me enough for my words to even fucking matter. Because there's probably somebody out there that came across Kanye during his manic episode and hates that motherfucker. And they are completely valid to do so. But I hope that he is true in intent and he does in fact change for the better, because he still is a musical genius. He has a family that he deserves to raise, and he has a daughter that's like literally following down his path in terms of music. Again, coming from somebody who has been harmed by people going through manic episodes, especially in the family route, I understand why you wouldn't forgive niggas. The one thing I will always wish for them is to receive the help and do better in their life, because it's just sad.
Guys, Ye might have said more than you thought he did in this Wall Street Journal ad. So Ye, aka Kanye West, just went public by buying a Wall Street Journal ad to apologize to the black community, Jewish community, and just the world for how he's been acting and how discriminatory he's been in these past few years. And it seems like he's taken full accountability, but there's something nobody's talking about here. So here he says he has a frontal lobe injury that was not diagnosed immediately, and it wasn't even raised to anyone's attention until 2023. And here he apologizes for all the hate speech he was using and everything he was saying. But guys, is this really Ye talking? Yes, I wholeheartedly believe that this was Ye who submitted this. I don't think anybody else would pay that much money for an ad just to pretend to be Ye. Obviously not, right? But did a chief executive at one of his companies threaten him or pressure him into doing this? Does he want to get his brand deals back? Is he doing bad financially and he wants to actually start working again? I don't know. It seems like he's trying to uncancel himself here, which is smart and very good for his image. And guys, if this actually is Ye, man, this shit makes me so happy. He's saying he's going on a positive journey. He's back getting in touch with God again. It just worries me. I'm an observant guy. I know how PR training works. I know how people pushing narratives works. I know how a lot of things in the music industry work. And guys, I pray to God that this was Ye talking. And hopefully it was. Comment your thoughts. We'll see y'all in the next one with updates.
Kanye West, aka Ye, has taken out a full page in the Wall Street Journal to apologize for his anti-Semitism. He cites brain damage from his car crash and his bipolar disorder as part of the reason why he went into a manic episode where he obviously was very anti-Semitic towards Jewish people, writing the HH song. He also offered an apology to the black community for letting them down, and you know what, the whole thing seemed pretty comprehensive. Safe to say, Myron, Sneeko and all those other losers are probably going to say, oh, they got to him, but it's not that. I think he's just come to his senses.
The scariest thing about this disorder is how persuasive it is when it tells you you don't need help. You feel powerful, certain, unstoppable. I mean, bro, you ever heard yikes? This is what he's talking. This is what he's talking about, bro. This is what when he says he feels powerful at some points.
Ye, aka Kanye West, takes out a full page in the Wall Street Journal to apologize to the black community and for anti-Semitism. I lost touch with reality. Let me read his statement. He goes on to say, to those I've hurt, 25 years ago, I was in a car accident that broke my jaw and caused injury to the right frontal lobe of my brain. At the time, the focus was on the visible damage, the fracture, the swelling, and the immediate physical trauma. The deeper injury, the one inside my skull, went unnoticed. Comprehensive scans were not done, neurological exams were limited, and the possibility of a frontal lobe injury was never raised. It wasn't properly diagnosed until 2023. That medical oversight caused serious damage to my mental health and led to my bipolar type 1 diagnosis. Bipolar disorder comes with its own defense system, denial. When you're manic, you don't think you're sick. You think everyone else is overreacting. You feel like you're seeing the world more clearly than ever, when in reality you're losing your grip entirely. Once people label you as crazy, you feel as if you cannot contribute anything meaningful to the world. It's easy for people to joke and laugh it off when in fact this is a very serious, debilitating disease you can die from. According to the World Health Organization and Cambridge University, people with a bipolar disorder have a life expectancy that is shortened by 10 to 15 years on average, and a 2 times to 3 times higher all-cause mortality rate than the general population. This is on par with severe heart disease, type 1 diabetes, HIV, and cancer, all lethal and fatal if left untreated. The scariest thing about this disorder is how persuasive it is when it tells you you don't need help. It makes you blind, but convinces you have insight. You feel powerful, certain, unstoppable. I lost touch with reality. Things got worse the longer I ignored the problem. I said and did things I deeply regret. Some of the people I love the most, I treated the worst. You endured fear, confusion, humiliation, and exhaustion of trying to have someone who was, at times, unrecognizable. Looking back, I became detached from my true self. In the fractured state, I gravitated toward the most destructive symbol I could find, the swastika, and even sold t-shirts bearing it. One of the difficult aspects of having bipolar type 1 are the disconnected moments, many of which I still cannot recall, that led to poor judgment and reckless behavior that oftentimes felt like an out-of-body experience. I regret and am deeply mortified by my actions in that state, and am committed to accountability, treatment, and meaningful change. It does not excuse what I did, though. I am not a Nazi or anti-Semite. I love Jewish people. To the black community, which held me down through all the highs and lows and the darkest of the times, the black community is unquestionably the foundation of who I am. I am so sorry to have let you down. I love us. In early 2025, I fell into a 4-month-long manic episode of psychotic, paranoid, impulsive behavior that destroyed my life. As the situation became increasingly unstable, there were times I didn't want to be here anymore. So yes, that was the apology Kanye West gave. Given everything that he's gone through and said, do you forgive him? Are you like, it's too much, I'm not going to forgive you? Let me know in the comment section, but I just wanted to let you know and spread the awareness that Kanye West gave an apology to the black community and to the Jewish community.
On what the people say, people did not relent. You people let it be known that Kanye West tried to make a apology. Some of you were agreeing, some of you weren't, some of you ain't buying it. So Kanye West had to work harder. We know Kanye West is trying to work back a comeback album, and he did a new song called Church or Glory or something. But he did that song, so I guess Kanye is trying to get back on the good graces of people over his shenanigans. Thank you all for watching this edition of Viral. I've been your host, Kendrick Dix, saying so long, and thank you for watching Viral.